Talent is a wonderful thing. It's exciting, inspiring, and something we often admire in others. But let's not fool ourselves. Talent alone will not carry you to success. Talent, without the commitment to develop it, is like a seed never planted. Sure, it has potential, but if it never touches the soil, it won't grow. It may even wither away, forgotten in time. That's why consistency is far more powerful than talent could ever be on its own. When we see someone excelling in their field, whether it's in sports, music, business, or any other discipline, we often think they must be naturally gifted. We might say, oh, they were born for this. And perhaps they were. But what we don't see are the hours behind the scenes, the daily grind, the consistent dedication they've put in when no one was watching. Talent gets people noticed, but consistency is what builds greatness. It's not just about having the ability to perform well once or twice. It's about being able to do it again and again, refining those skills every single day. Think of talent as the spark that lights the fire, but consistency as the wood that keeps it burning. Without that fuel, the flame dies out quickly, no matter how brightly it shone at first. Consistency turns a flash of brilliance into a lasting blaze. It's easy to be good at something once, to have a breakthrough moment, but it's much harder to keep showing up and improving day after day, year after year. That's what separates those who achieve lasting success from those who are just a momentary flicker. There are countless examples of people who had immense talent but failed to reach their full potential because they lacked consistency. They might have had all the natural gifts, the speed, the intellect, the creativity, but they didn't have the discipline to work on those gifts regularly. They relied on their talent to carry them through, and eventually they were passed by people who were less naturally gifted, but more dedicated to showing up and putting in the work. On the other hand, there are just as many stories of individuals who weren't seen as the most talented in the beginning, but became great because they were consistent in their efforts. They might not have had the best start or the easiest path, but they kept showing up, kept learning, and kept improving. And over time, their persistence paid off. This is especially true in areas where progress is slow and results aren't immediate. Whether it's learning a new skill, building a business, or working toward a personal goal, the journey can often feel long and arduous. The temptation to give up is strong, especially when you don't see instant results. But consistency teaches us that progress isn't always obvious at first. Just like a seed buried in the ground, growth happens underground before we ever see it sprout. Consistency keeps us watering that seed even when we can't see the fruits of our labor yet. It's not just about working hard every now and then. It's about building habits and routines that become second nature. It's waking up every day and doing the work, even when you don't feel like it. Even when no one is there to applaud you or offer you praise. Because let's be honest, there will be times when no one is watching. There will be days when you feel like giving up, like your efforts are in vain. But consistency reminds you that it's not about today or tomorrow. It's about the long game. Consistency compounds. It's like an investment, small, daily deposits that eventually grow into something much larger than the sum of its parts. Each day you stay consistent, you're building on the progress of the day before. You might not see massive changes overnight, but a year from now, 2 years from now, you'll look back and realize how far you've come. And the beauty of it is that the results of consistency tend to multiply as time goes on. The more consistent you are, the more momentum you gain, and the faster your progress becomes. Consistency also builds discipline. It creates a mindset that is resilient in the face of challenges. When you're consistent, you don't rely on motivation because motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes. But discipline, that's something you build through repetition. It's something that grows stronger the more you exercise it. And once you have that discipline, nothing can stop you. You're no longer at the mercy of how you feel in the moment because you've trained yourself to show up no matter what. While talent is valuable, it is not the defining factor in success. It's the consistent actions you take day in and day out that truly make the difference. Whether you're the most talented or not, consistency levels the playing field. It gives everyone the opportunity to improve, to grow, and to eventually succeed. Talent may give you a head start, but consistency is what will help you finish the race. Showing up daily is one of the most underrated yet powerful habits for achieving long-term success. It's easy to be motivated and energized at the start of any journey, whether it's a new job, a fitness goal, or learning a new skill. The excitement of something new often fuels us to make those initial efforts. But what happens when that initial thrill fades? That's where the real work begins. Success is not about grand gestures or sporadic bursts of hard work. It's about the simple, often mundane act of showing up every day and putting in the effort, no matter how small or insignificant that effort may seem in the moment. The truth is, progress isn't always visible from day to day. You may feel like nothing is changing, like the work you're doing isn't making a difference. But showing up daily ensures that you're planting seeds even on the days when the ground feels barren. Consider the process of mastering any skill. Whether you're learning to play an instrument, training for a marathon, or studying for an exam, the improvement doesn't come from practicing intensely once or twice and then walking away. It comes from consistent, repeated practice. It's about sitting down with that instrument every day, even when you're tired. It's about running, even when your legs are sore. It's about studying, even when your brain feels exhausted. In those moments, when it would be easier to skip a day or take a break, that's when showing up matters most. Because every time you show up, you're reinforcing your commitment to your goal. What many people don't realize is that showing up isn't just about building skill or endurance, it's also about building trust in yourself. Every time you show up, you're sending a message to yourself that you are someone who follows through. You're creating a pattern of behavior that says, I can count on myself. This self-trust is crucial, especially when the road gets tough, and it will get tough. There will be moments when external validation is nowhere to be found, when no one is cheering you on or recognizing your efforts. But because you've built the habit of showing up, you don't need that external push. You've already proven to yourself that you can do it. Another important aspect of showing up daily is the concept of momentum. Momentum is a powerful force. Once you start something and keep at it consistently, the effort required to continue becomes less and less over time. This is because you're no longer starting from zero every day. You've built a foundation, and each day you build on top of it. The first few days or weeks might feel like a struggle, but once you've created that habit, it becomes easier to keep going. Think of it like pushing a heavy boulder. The first push requires the most effort, but once it starts moving, it picks up speed and each push feels a little lighter. That's the power of showing up every day. You create momentum that makes future efforts easier, and eventually you find yourself moving forward almost effortlessly. On the flip side, if you skip too many days, the boulder stops moving and you're back to that initial heavy push again. It's also important to recognize that showing up daily doesn't mean you have to perform at 100% every single day. Life happens. Some days you'll feel great, full of energy, and able to give your absolute best. Other days you'll feel tired, distracted, or even unmotivated. And that's okay. The key is to show up anyway, even if it's not your best day. Even if all you can give is 50% or 20%, it's better than giving nothing. Because by showing up even on the difficult days, you keep the momentum going. You maintain the habit, and that's what ultimately matters. Success isn't about perfection, it's about persistence. It's about making small, incremental improvements over time. Showing up daily is what gives you the opportunity to make those improvements. It's what keeps you in the game even when progress feels slow. And over time, those small, consistent efforts compound. They build on each other, creating results far greater than you could have achieved through sporadic bursts of effort. When it feels hard to show up, when it feels like your efforts aren't paying off, remember this: every day you show up, you're moving closer to your goal. It may not be visible right away, but that doesn't mean it's not happening. Success is built in the quiet moments, in the daily grind, in the times when it would be easier to stay in bed or walk away. But because you choose to show up, you give yourself the chance to succeed. The habit of showing up daily is the foundation for everything else. It's the commitment to the journey, not just the destination. And it's that commitment that will ultimately lead you to where you want to go. Embracing the grind is what truly separates those who succeed from those who give up when things get tough. Consistency is not just about showing up, it's about showing up even when it's uncomfortable, difficult, and inconvenient. This is where many people falter because the grind, the day-to-day struggle, the hard work, the obstacles can be exhausting. But the truth is, the grind is not something to be feared or avoided. It's something to be embraced, because within the grind lies the real opportunity for growth. When people start any endeavor, whether it's pursuing a career, building a business, or working toward a personal goal, the initial phase often feels exciting. Motivation is high, and there's a sense of novelty that makes the effort feel worthwhile. But once that honeymoon phase ends, the grind begins. This is the phase where the routine sets in, the challenges start to stack up, and the progress may slow to a crawl. It's easy to feel discouraged, to start questioning whether all this effort is even worth it. But the grind is where real transformation happens. Think about athletes training for a competition. It's not just the high-energy game day or the adrenaline of winning that makes them great. It's the long hours in the gym, the sore muscles, the repeated drills, and the moments when their bodies are telling them to stop but their minds push them to continue. The grind is what builds endurance, strength, and skill. It's the same in any field. You don't become excellent by skipping the hard parts. You become excellent by embracing them and letting them shape you. The grind often feels overwhelming because it's full of discomfort. It's uncomfortable to push yourself beyond your limits, to wake up early for a run, or to stay late working on a project when everyone else is clocked out. But discomfort is not your enemy, it's a sign that you're growing. If everything you did felt easy, you wouldn't be stretching yourself. Growth requires discomfort because it means you're pushing past what you already know or what you've already achieved. The challenges that come with the grind are actually opportunities in disguise. Every setback, every hurdle, every moment of doubt is a chance to learn something new about yourself. These challenges test your resilience, your patience, and your determination. They reveal how badly you want something and how far you're willing to go to get it. Embracing the grind means accepting that setbacks are part of the process, not a sign that you're failing. One of the hardest parts of the grind is that progress can feel incredibly slow. You may be putting in the work day after day, but the results are nowhere to be seen. This can be discouraging, and many people quit when they hit this stage. But here's the thing, just because you can't see the results immediately doesn't mean you're not making progress. Sometimes progress happens behind the scenes in ways that aren't immediately visible. It's like planting a tree. You water it every day, but for weeks or even months, there's no visible growth. Then suddenly one day it starts to sprout. But all those days you spent watering it were necessary for that breakthrough moment. Embracing the grind is about trusting the process, even when the results are delayed. It's about having the patience to keep going, knowing that your efforts will eventually pay off. And the longer you stick with it, the stronger you become. The grind conditions you to handle adversity, to stay focused when things get tough, and to keep moving forward when it feels like you're standing still. One of the greatest rewards of embracing the grind is the personal growth that comes with it. Yes, the end goal is important, but the person you become along the way is just as valuable. The grind teaches you discipline, perseverance, and resilience. It forces you to dig deep and discover strengths you didn't know you had. And when you finally do achieve your goal, the satisfaction is even greater because you know how hard you worked for it. You didn't take shortcuts. You faced the challenges head on, and you came out stronger on the other side. The grind also has a way of filtering out those who aren't truly committed. Anyone can start a journey, but not everyone is willing to push through the hard times. By embracing the grind, you set yourself apart. You show that you're not just interested in the rewards, you're invested in the process. You're willing to do what it takes, even when it's difficult, because you understand that the grind is where greatness is made. Embracing the grind is about shifting your mindset. Instead of seeing the hard work as something to get through, see it as something to grow through. Every challenge is an opportunity. Every difficult day is a chance to become stronger. The grind isn't something that holds you back. It's what propels you forward. It's the proving ground where success is forged. When the road gets tough, when you're tired, when the results aren't coming as fast as you'd like, remember that this is the grind, and it's exactly where you need to be. Embrace it, and you'll find that it's not an obstacle to success, it's the path to it. Building character through resilience is one of the most transformative outcomes of consistency. When you commit to showing up every day, regardless of how you feel or the obstacles in your path, you're not just working toward a goal, you're also shaping the person you become. Consistency requires discipline, focus, and a certain level of grit, but above all, it builds resilience, the ability to withstand and recover from setbacks, failures, and challenges. Resilience is often misunderstood. Many people think it's about toughness or being unbreakable. But true resilience is about adaptability and the ability to bounce back from adversity. It's about maintaining your focus and drive even when things don't go according to plan. And nothing teaches resilience quite like the steady, day-to-day grind of being consistent in your efforts. Failure and setbacks are inevitable in any meaningful pursuit. Whether you're building a business, mastering a new skill, or working on a personal goal, you will encounter obstacles. You will make mistakes. You will have days where nothing seems to go right. But resilience is what allows you to face those moments with a sense of determination rather than defeat. It's what keeps you moving forward when others might give up. When you are consistent, you face challenges regularly. You get used to dealing with difficulties, not in the sense that they become easy, but in the sense that you learn how to navigate them. The more consistent you are, the more you encounter these moments of struggle, and the more opportunities you have to build resilience. It's like exercising a muscle. Each time you push through a hard day or recover from a setback, you're strengthening that muscle. Over time, resilience becomes a core part of your character. What's powerful about consistency is that it teaches you to separate your identity from your immediate successes or failures. When you're consistent, you start to understand that progress is not linear. Some days will be better than others. Some weeks will feel like breakthroughs, while others will feel like you're stuck in the mud. But by showing up daily, you learn that neither your success nor your failure on any given day defines you. What matters is the bigger picture of the journey, not just the individual moments along the way. This perspective makes it easier to bounce back from failures because you understand that one bad day doesn't mean you're off track. It's just part of the process. Resilience isn't just about bouncing back, it's also about learning and adapting. Each time you face a challenge, you have the opportunity to learn something new. Failure, when approached with the right mindset, is one of the best teachers. When you fail, you're given the chance to reflect, adjust, and come back stronger. This process of reflection and adjustment is where true growth happens. Without challenges and failures, there's no need to adapt, and without adaptation, there's no improvement. The more consistent you are in your efforts, the more you begin to embrace these challenges. You stop fearing failure because you understand that it's not the end of the road, it's simply a detour. You start to see every obstacle as an opportunity to strengthen your resilience, and in doing so, you build a character that is capable of withstanding anything. This doesn't mean you won't feel frustration, disappointment, or even doubt when things go wrong. Those emotions are part of the human experience. But when you've built resilience, you don't let those emotions stop you. You acknowledge them, learn from them, and then move forward. One of the most important aspects of building resilience through consistency is learning to trust yourself. Every time you face a challenge and push through it, you're sending a message to yourself, I can handle this. Over time, that self-trust becomes one of your greatest assets. When future challenges arise, you won't crumble under the pressure because you've proven to yourself time and again that you can survive the tough times. You've built the mental and emotional strength to weather the storms, and that confidence is unshakable. This process of building resilience isn't something that happens overnight. It takes time, patience, and a lot of effort. But the rewards are immeasurable. Resilience allows you to pursue bigger goals without the fear of failure holding you back. It gives you the freedom to take risks, knowing that even if you stumble, you have the strength to get back up. And that's one of the most empowering things about resilience. It gives you the courage to keep pushing forward, no matter how many times you fall. Resilience also leads to a deep sense of fulfillment and pride. When you look back at the challenges you've overcome, you'll realize just how far you've come, not just in terms of external success, but in terms of personal growth. The difficult moments, the setbacks, the failures, they're all part of what has made you stronger, more adaptable, and more determined. And that's something no one can take away from you. Consistency builds resilience, and resilience builds character. It shapes you into someone who doesn't give up when things get hard, who sees challenges, opportunities, and who has the strength to keep moving forward no matter what. That's the kind of character that not only achieves success, but sustains it in the face of adversity. Patience and trust in the process are critical when it comes to achieving lasting success. It's easy to want immediate results, especially in a world that often glorifies overnight success stories. We live in a fast-paced society where instant gratification is the norm, whether it's getting likes on social media, receiving fast deliveries, or binge-watching entire seasons of shows in one sitting. But real success, the kind that lasts, doesn't come instantly. It requires patience and a deep trust in the process, even when the results aren't immediately visible. When we embark on any journey, whether it's starting a new business, learning a skill, or improving our health, we tend to expect quick progress. We put in the effort for a short time and then look around, expecting to see significant results. But in reality, meaningful progress is usually slow, and it often takes a long time before the fruits of your labor become apparent. This is where patience comes in. Patience is the ability to wait for those results without getting discouraged, frustrated, or giving up too soon. One of the hardest parts of being patient is dealing with the fact that progress can feel invisible for a long time. You might be putting in the work, showing up every day, staying consistent, but you're not seeing the changes you expected. It can feel like you're running in place, exerting effort without moving forward. This is the moment when many people lose faith in the process and quit. But the truth is, the lack of visible progress doesn't mean nothing is happening. Often the most important changes are happening below the surface, just out of sight. Think of it like planting a tree. When you first plant a seed, you water it and take care of it, but for weeks or even months, there's no visible growth above the ground. It's easy to think that nothing is happening, that maybe the seed isn't growing at all. But in reality, the roots are spreading beneath the surface, establishing a strong foundation. The tree needs that root system before it can start growing upwards. If you were to stop caring for the seed during this period, you'd miss out on the eventual growth. The same is true for any goal or endeavor. The early stages are often the most difficult because the progress is invisible. But if you're patient and keep nurturing your efforts, the results will come. Trusting the process means believing that your efforts will eventually pay off, even if you don't see immediate rewards. It's about understanding that success is a journey, not a destination. Along the way, there will be setbacks, delays, and moments of doubt. But those who trust the process know that these are just part of the path to success. They don't allow temporary challenges to deter them from their long-term vision. A key part of trusting the process is understanding that success is not a straight line. There will be ups and downs, moments of rapid progress followed by periods where it feels like nothing is happening. This ebb and flow is natural. The important thing is to remain committed during the slower periods, knowing that they are just as essential as the high points. Patience teaches you to accept that progress is not always immediate or linear, but that every step you take is still moving you forward. This patience also extends to the quality of the work you produce. Rushing through something just to get quick results often leads to subpar outcomes. But when you trust the process and allow things to unfold in their own time, you give yourself the opportunity to create something lasting and of real value. Whether it's honing a craft, building a relationship, or developing a business, patience allows you to pay attention to the details and do things right, rather than cutting corners for the sake of speed. Another aspect of patience and trust in the process is learning to embrace delayed gratification. The ability to wait for a reward, knowing that it will be worth it in the end, is a hallmark of long-term success. Delayed gratification means resisting the temptation to take shortcuts or settle for lesser results just because they're available sooner. It means staying focused on the bigger picture, even when the smaller, immediate rewards are tempting. Patience also builds resilience. The more you practice patience, the more you strengthen your ability to endure challenges and setbacks without losing faith in your goals. This is where trust in the process becomes so important. When you trust the process, you understand that the setbacks are temporary and part of the overall journey. You don't let a bad day or a slow month throw you off course, because you know that progress is still being made, even if it's not immediately visible. Trusting the process allows you to stay calm and focused in the face of uncertainty. Life is unpredictable, and no matter how well you plan, there will be surprises along the way. Those who lack patience often panic when things don't go according to plan. But when you have trust in the process, you remain steady, knowing that every challenge is just another step toward the ultimate goal. Patience and trust in the process are about playing the long game. They're about understanding that real, meaningful success doesn't come overnight. It's built slowly, over time, through consistent effort, dedication, and resilience. It's about believing in yourself and your ability to stay the course, even when the results aren't immediately apparent. Those who master patience and trust in the process are the ones who achieve not just success, but lasting, meaningful success that stands the test of time. Recognizing small wins and celebrating progress is one of the most powerful ways to maintain motivation and momentum on the journey toward any long-term goal. In a world that often focuses on the big accomplishments, graduating, landing a dream job, completing a marathon, it's easy to overlook the importance of the small victories that pave the way to those larger milestones. However, it's these small wins that provide the energy and encouragement to keep moving forward, especially when the end goal feels distant. One of the challenges of pursuing long-term goals is that the final result can seem so far off. It's hard to maintain motivation over time. If you're only focused on the finish line, you can quickly become discouraged by how much further you have to go. That's why it's crucial to recognize the smaller achievements along the way. Every step forward, no matter how small, is a sign of progress and should be acknowledged as such. Small wins act as checkpoints on the road to success. They provide a sense of accomplishment that can help to reinforce your efforts and give you the motivation to keep pushing forward. Think about it. If you set out on a long hike, the idea of reaching the summit might feel overwhelming at first. But when you reach a scenic lookout halfway up, you stop to appreciate how far you've come. That moment of pause, of recognizing the distance you've already traveled, renews your energy for the remainder of the hike. The same principle applies to any goal. Celebrating small wins gives you the boost you need to continue when the path gets tough. These small wins remind you that progress is being made, even when the larger goal still seems out of reach. In any long-term endeavor, there will be times when you feel like you're not moving fast enough, or that your efforts aren't paying off. But by acknowledging the small victories, you're constantly reminded that each step is bringing you closer to your goal. Progress may not always be immediately visible, but every effort you make contributes to the bigger picture. This is why it's so important to pause and reflect on those little moments of success. They build your confidence and keep you connected to the progress you're making, however incremental it may seem. Celebrating small wins also helps to create positive reinforcement for the habits and behaviors that are driving your progress. When you take the time to acknowledge a small achievement, you're telling your brain, "This is working. Keep doing this." Over time, this positive reinforcement helps to solidify the behaviors that are leading to success. It creates a feedback loop. The more you recognize and celebrate your small wins, the more motivated you are to continue the behaviors that produce those wins, which in turn leads to more progress and more wins to celebrate. Recognizing small wins is also a powerful way to combat negativity and self-doubt. When you're in the middle of a challenging journey, it's easy to focus on what's not going right. You might dwell on the setbacks, the mistakes, or how far you still have to go. This kind of thinking can drain your energy and sap your motivation. But when you shift your focus to the small wins, the things you're doing right, it changes your perspective. Instead of being weighed down by how much further you have to go, you start to see how far you've already come. This shift in mindset can be incredibly empowering and can help you push through the difficult moments with a renewed sense of determination. Another important benefit of celebrating small wins is that it helps you stay present and engaged with the process itself, rather than becoming overly fixated on the end result. When you're constantly chasing the finish line, it's easy to miss the lessons and growth that happen along the way. But when you take the time to appreciate the small victories, you're reminded that the journey itself is valuable. You start to enjoy the process of improvement, rather than just waiting for the final outcome. This makes the journey more fulfilling and helps to sustain your motivation over the long term. It's also worth noting that celebrating small wins doesn't have to be extravagant. It's not about throwing a big party every time you make a little progress. It can be as simple as taking a moment to reflect on what you've achieved, sharing your success with a friend or mentor, or treating yourself to a small reward. The key is to acknowledge the win and allow yourself to feel good about it. This helps to create a positive emotional connection to your efforts, which can make it easier to stay committed over time. Small wins are the building blocks of big success. They're the stepping stones that lead you to your ultimate goal, and without them, the journey can feel endless and overwhelming. By recognizing and celebrating these small victories, you not only keep yourself motivated, but you also remind yourself that progress is happening, even when it feels slow. Each small win is a signal that you're on the right path and that your consistent efforts are paying off. So, whether it's a tiny improvement in your performance, a milestone you've reached in your project, or just the fact that you showed up and did the work today, celebrate those small wins. They are what will carry you through to the big moments of success.